Ooh, I don't know why it's got to be a grave. That seems like kind of a bummer. Why can't we talk about like the Batman's chill hangout spot? I guess that's Batman Universe. That is a surprisingly fun romp. But anyway, yeah, I'm back. Hey everybody. How's it
Heard almost nothing
going?
about Batman Universe, actually. What even is the premise of that?
It's basically Batman on a tour of the DC universe.
To what end?
He's like working on a mystery,
Okay.
and so he's teaming up with other characters, and it's actually surprisingly fun. Like he met a descendant of Jonah Hex. He met Jonah Hex. He worked with Green Lantern. He visited the Ape City, which I can never remember the name of, the one where Gorilla Grodd is from. I
Yeah,
think it's
that
called
whatever that place is.
I think it's called New Donk City. I'm
I have
not
no
sure.
idea.
It's probably something like that. Anyway, yeah, no, it originally ran as the Walmart Batman comic. Walmart's been doing this big push where they're
Oh.
releasing a bunch of comics. So they had that. They had the Superman Tom King, which I really cannot stand. That's been released as Superman Up and Away, I think, or something like that, or Up in the Sky, or some such thing.
Huh.
But that is also really not working for me. I don't know. When I kind of fell off the Tom King wagon, I felt pretty hard, I have to say.
I need to try more of Tom King's Batman at some point. I basically only read Miracle, yeah, Mr. Miracle, and Vision.
Well, those are the ones that I like, so I would stick to those personally. Well, and Sheriff of Babylon, that's also very good.
Isn't Omega Men one of the other ones that people sometimes praise?
Sometimes. I'm not wild about it myself, but it's not terrible. I guess he's going to be working on a Watchmen comic next. He put up something where he said he was reading a bunch of Watchmen comics for research for a project. I don't know. I think that's the sort of thing he would probably be. I would much rather read Tom King's Watchmen project, personally. I mean, as opposed to Jeff Johns' Watchmen comic, because, I mean, Doomsday Clock. Are you reading Doomsday Clock? Ix? You there, buddy? I think we might have lost him.
I'm not getting audio from you now.
Oh, what about now?
Oh, it's back, but spotty.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. He, looks like everything's okay on my end.
That again.
I said it looks like everything's okay on my end. I don't know. Let me just check. I don't seem to be. Let me check the Discord connection info. Yeah, I'm not losing packets. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I'm getting about half of every sentence. Let me try moving to the other room.
Okay. Bap. Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-ba-da-ba. Let's see, what else do we have coming out today? We've got the next last issue of Leviathan. I guess we could take a look at that. Punisher Soviet. Far Sector. Kind of curious about that. And I think those are the big ones. Yeah, I don't really see anything. I already read X-Men 2. That didn't do much for me. Yeah, okay. It was
Okay, how's this?
Superman up in the sky. I'm not a fan of that one myself.
And now I'm getting complete sentences from you.
Great. Progress.
I didn't actually get around to finishing X-Men 2 today. I don't know. It's one of those
Yeah,
Wednesdays when I did get around to actually reading the comics.
I liked it. Oh yeah, did you read that Tales from the Dark Multiverse Nightfall comic?
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, well, I don't think you missed much.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
not.
maybe that's why I heard nothing about it after that time we all noticed it was coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it has him. It has Azrael become Saint Batman, which is okay, I guess. But I don't know. I didn't find it that interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So as I was saying earlier, personally, all things considered, I would rather read a Tom King Watchmen series as opposed to a Jeff Johns Watchmen series, which of
Yeah,
course is what Doomsday Clock is. So
yeah. Having without actually seeing either one, I would agree that I would expect the former to be more interesting.
yeah, well, just given their history, I mean, Tom King is very experimental, and he's obviously in love with the 9-page thing, 9-panel thing, and he's also. It seems like it deals with the sort of dark, serious stuff that he really likes. So it seems like it would be a natural fit for him.
And it's a relatively tightly plotted, self-contained, not that long story, like 10, 20 issues instead of 100. So it
Sure.
definitely plays more to what his strengths appear to have been so far.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna get like a Watchmen ongoing series.
That would be so weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the world we live in. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that you've got a Watchmen HBO sequel. That
Uh,
that is wild.
Honestly, the weirdest part is that my mom's watching it and I'm not because of the stupid country limitations.
Oh yeah, that would make sense, I guess. I mean, sort of.
Yeah.
What does your mom think about it?
Oh, she's liking it. She actually rewatched the movie after episode one confused her a bit, and now she's really liking it.
Well, as near as I can tell, the TV show is using the squid, so
It's interesting.
yeah, I won't go into details, but I would think that that would be confusing your
Hmm.
mom. Let's get your mom on the stream.
Nah.
Get your mom's hot takes.
I'm sure that would be hilarious for about 5 minutes.
I'll bet I could stretch it out to 10. So your mom's a fan?
The show, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I am still not convinced that it's really worth the Watchmen name. Like, I don't see why this has to be Watchmen. Like, I feel like if you just filed the serial numbers off, you could just as easily have it be its own standalone project.
Fair
But
enough.
it's certainly better than Doomsday Clock. I will give it that much.
Yeah, a lot of that is something we should probably wait for the whole series to come out to judge if it Just so much of Watchmen you can only really appreciate properly when you've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, of course, this is a Lindelof jam, so there's no guarantee that the final, final episode won't make the whole thing worse in retrospect.
The other way around. But yeah, so Batman.
Yeah, I've heard of this guy.
I've read
He
way too many Batman comics.
he spins a web any size. That's his thing. Everybody
And
says that about
metaphorically.
him. Yeah, a web of reverse crime. Anyway, so we read this issue, the first issue of this comic last month. What did you think? Did,
I'm trying
did
to remember
you?
exactly what I thought. I remember having mixed opinions on it.
Okay, well that doesn't bode well if you don't actually remember that much of it.
I mean, I remember lots of bits and pieces. I'm just trying to remember exactly what my overall impression.
Sure.
I remember more about what the plot in the comic was than I do about my opinions about it.
Well, we had Alfred being morbid, cleaning a grave for Batman.
Yeah.
We had a pretty cool Batman 2-page splash on rooftops. We had another one where he was beating up some thugs, and we
Talking about his
had
boot for a while.
some very nice boots. That's right, and we had some investigation, and then we had some holographic investigations, and then we found Alfred being extremely cool and drunk.
Oh
Alfred, it turns
yeah,
out, is
that
a mean drunk.
that was a good scene. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And
Batman found somebody living under a bed.
he figured out the killer was still in the apartment because of whatever attachment he had to the guy. He couldn't leave the room or something like that.
Right. And Batman is solving crimes using the television profiler approach, but he's doing it from the perspective of the victim rather than the killer. So that's like the Warren Ellis style twist. And I didn't like the colors that much. They're not bad, they're just not quite landing for me. I think I've just been spoiled by seeing Hitch with Laura Martin.
That's right. You were talking about the Ultimates a lot last time.
Yeah, I'm pretty obsessed with the Ultimates. As far as I'm concerned, it's basically the high watermark for superhero big epic comics. Like it's really hard to think of another comic that really delivers on that level. I mean, there's other superhero comics that do very good stuff, but for that sort of widescreen blockbuster, epic scope, with cool large scale destruction, it's hard to think of many other comics that work quite as well.
Yeah, offhand, yeah, I can't really think of anything else offhand. Like, there's obviously plenty that had that in the plot, but I probably need to go reread a bunch to tell if any others sold me on it as well with the proper art and stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. I
A
guess
lot
some
of
of
my a lot of my favorites are like a lot of my favorite superhero stuff is more like character pieces and specific plot arcs and stuff, less so of the art actually selling you on a ginormous action scene.
yeah, I guess some of Perez's stuff comes close. He's the guy who did Crisis on Infinite Earths.
But yeah, yeah, I know.
All right, just checking.
I remember Wolfman and Perez partially because I'm also reading 80s Titans, so both their names keep showing up over and over.
Yeah, no, I so that's pretty much what got me like really hardcore into DC more than anything. I remember when I was a kid going to the comic book store and digging through the quarter box where all the comics cost a quarter, and basically trying to fill in the series, as every so often an issue of Titans would wind up there. So I read the whole thing out of order, and
Admittedly, it is pretty episodic as these series go, so that probably would work.
yeah. And I got help because a teacher actually gave me a box of his old comics, which had a bunch of the issues there. So I had a bunch of those, and then I was like filling in the ones that were missing from that. And I remember the Judas contract in particular really blew off the top of my head. I thought that was really cool.
Part of the reason I'm still reading it is that I keep hearing about that story, and obviously that's near the end of the run, so I'm sort of I'm sort of going back and forth on how much I like the series up to this point, but at the same time, it does feel like one of those is getting better as I go.
Yeah, well, it definitely suffers from some 80s-ness, to be sure. Although that's not really the end of the series. The Titans run is a little bit complicated because it starts with New Teen Titans, which they do for, I want to say, around 50 issues or so.
There are nine
But then
volumes, yeah.
they split off, and so they start over with a prestige format, which uses like really fancy paper.
Yeah, I
And
saw the reading orders that said the Teen Titans changed their name to Titans when they're a little more grown up, and then there's an alternative Teen Titans team that comes in after them.
yeah, although I'm not sure that's where the split happens, because I think it might change to New Titans, and then there's Legends of the Teen Titans, and the whole thing gets like pretty tough to follow, especially if you don't have the internet like I did.
Yeah, the name changes are happening as part of what is these days classified as the new Teen Titans, so that does make some of the reading orders a little annoying to interpret.
Yeah.
It took me a
Uh,
minute to figure out if the Judas contract was actually fully included in the new Teen Titans because it turned out that it is, but that covers some of the name change issues.
yeah, it gets pretty rough. Can you hold on a second? I gotta address something. Okay, I think that ought to do it. Like, yeah, everything's still working. So, uh, off, turn this on. It's always something. And all right, good. But we're not here to talk about the Titans. We're here to talk about the Batman's grave. And it looks like we are going with that most classic of cover moments, which is a scene from the comic, but, on a cover. So I assume this is something that is going to lead directly into the comic itself. Watchmen, of course, is famous for doing this super fancy. Anything about this cover jump out at you?
Oh, first thought is obviously that this appears to be basically what happens immediately after that last page of the first issue where he discovers the guy under the floor.
Yeah.
The other thing I see first is what is on Batman's right hand there? Is that like a holo projector gauntlet and I just completely forgot that he had that on the first issue or what?
Which hand are you talking about?
Hand. Batman's right
What?
hand.
His right or our
Batman's
right?
right hand. That is the hand that is to the bottom left of the logo.
Oh, okay, gotcha. What do you mean? It just looks like his regular hand. I mean,
Oh,
he's wearing.
it's the red lighting that. Okay, sorry. It looked to me like there was something else on top of his regular glove.
Yeah, well,
Wow, the coloring really baffled me there.
yeah, I could see how that could be confusing, but he seems to have like cloth, and then he has the, I don't know what those are called, the fancy spiky things seem to be like a separate part of the glove.
I have no idea what to call those 3 spikes he always has on the back of the glove.
Yeah. Well, I think they're like an actual thing, or they've been made into an actual thing. Like he uses them in Batman Begins to break a sword.
I totally buy that they're useful.
Yeah, I think originally they were just let's see. Here we go. I'm
Okay, yeah,
Googling.
I think I got
The,
confused by the arm because I wasn't fully zoomed into the stream and because the logo happens to be on it as the color gradient occurs, so it
yeah,
looks more separate than it really is.
you gotta zoom in, buddy. All right, so we got, let's see, the fins.
Fins, of course.
I guess, and I came and go. They're also called spikes.
For this artist, they're definitely closer to fins.
Let's see, blah blah blah. Wow, there is a lot of effort that went into this, and yet not a lot of information so far. This website just seems to mostly say, yeah, he definitely has fins on his gloves, which is not helpful.
The other thing, and now that I'm looking at this some more, it also occurs to me I think the first cover had a pretty similar color palette.
Yeah, I did, but that one was more symbolic, I think, since
Yeah,
he didn't.
this one's obviously a lot more literal.
Yeah, he didn't spend any time dramatically jumping in front of statues in the first issue that I remember.
But none of those statues existed in the first issue.
Okay, well, I have officially spent way too much time on this, so I'm going to keep going.
That seems. I'm curious how that much wood is just flying up into the air as this guy bursts out of the floor. Because hasn't he been in there for days, probably not eating very much and everything?
I guess we'll have to find out. All right, it looks like he's just really jumping super good. He's really going for it.
Oh yeah, he really just burst out of there.
Yeah, maybe he did the long jump in high school. I don't know, but definitely got some range on him. That's quite a, and he's turning it into a kick, no less. That's genuinely impressive.
After winding up for a punch in the first panel, I guess he's making it up. Yeah, clearly the second panel's after 1 or 2 steps happen, so yeah, he's probably just making it up as he goes.
Yeah, this guy definitely does CrossFit. I'm honestly kind of impressed.
Suit looks awfully good for having lived under the floor for days.
Yeah. Okay, I'm picking up a weird click on your end.
I don't know. Oh,
Hello.
right, still hearing it, or
I don't know. You're gonna have to talk a little bit more because you uh, have the filter on, so I don't really hear anything
okay.
if you're not talking.
Oh, right. So, well, are you still hearing any clicking, or
I don't know. We'll try it and see. But
let's just go?
now this guy is looking pretty goofy to me. He has some goofy ass hair. Like this is the sort of hair that you would expect to see on an eccentric professor or someone who has a lot of really unusual ideas about ancient civilizations and aliens.
Yeah.
And the outfit also indicates someone of a academic bent to me. Although
A lot more colorful though. Yeah.
the teeth and the scar on the head, I think, are giving me kind of a different vibe, sort of a mixed message here.
Yeah. Yeah, this does feel like what Batman was talking about at the end of the first issue. Like this is a guy wearing someone else's clothes, maybe.
Yeah, that could be it. I'm thinking maybe a lesser known Arkham inmate. But maybe we'll find out the answer on the next page. So lonely. Back off. All right, so looks like he's taking the momentum and trying to mess with Batman, but Batman is getting it pretty good, actually. This is not bad for some rando we found under the floor.
Yeah, like I would expect Batman to be performing a little better in this fight.
Yeah, well, I guess the guy's got the element of surprise. I mean, when you check under the floorboards to find somebody, even if you think there might be somebody there, you're probably still going to be pretty startled if there is actually somebody there.
Not so much that, I guess, but I mean, he probably wasn't expecting the guy to burst up to the floorboards and be ready to kickbox him right off the bat.
Yeah.
He definitely
Well,
had no reason to expect that.
we'll see how this goes. I carry his face with me. And it looks like he can take some damage too, so.
Oh, is he wearing the victim's face too? I forget. Did the victim have his face removed?
I don't think so. I could go back and check, but I think I would remember that. I
I
remember there
think I
was.
would too.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but let me
Yeah, the
fire
body
that up
wasn't
real
in
quick.
good condition, but I don't think it had parts removed.
Okay, so that's loading. Yeah, for some reason my comics viewer keeps loading all of my comics off screen, so I have to move them on to the screen. It's a real pain in the butt. All right, so let's see. Oh yeah, like part of his face had kind of like it looked like it had been rotted off or something, and he was lying on the bed. But he
Okay,
definitely
maybe.
still has at least part of his face. But I don't think that this guy is wearing a face or anything. Like he's not the Joker.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. We'd see more seams in that last panel if that was what was going on.
Yeah, of course, the Joker is someone who's noted for just wearing faces all day long, and he loves it.
At least
I'm
Snyder
not.
never.
I'm not still mad about that, by the way. I don't think that's dumb or pointless at all.
It wasn't my favorite Joker story either.
All right, so this has gotten all. All right, there we go. Well, I just want to know why he's wearing his own face that he cut off. Like, no one can explain that to me. It's like,
It's supposed to be inexplicable. He's the Joker.
but it's not. Like, there's an issue where Batman says that the Joker's trying to send him a message, and yet they never explain what the message is, and it's driving me like slowly insane thinking about that whole. Anyway, yeah. So
Well, you need to
I
reread everything, Snyder.
I did. Let's see. Try harder to make me feel something. All right. We've got some God of War 2018 vibes here.
Yeah, I think what they're going for is that he just doesn't feel pain properly or something. Like
Right.
especially the panels at the top of the page. Like those are
Yeah,
pretty solid hits. Those would stop a normal dude.
like in God of War. There's a guy in God of War who can't feel pain.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that probably explains how he was doing so well on the other page.
So Batman is not wearing his underpants, which bothers me. I don't know why, but I'm a big fan of the underpants.
I've never thought about this before.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing. Okay, so let's see. How are we doing for time? All right, I'm gonna take a quick break and run an ad because I've got a technical issue coming up here. So we will BRB, but we're still gonna be on stream for anybody who's subscribing. So keep that in mind, X, before we start
Yeah, I'm just gonna
dropping
mute
f
myself.
bombs. All right, cool. All right, so what's going on here? Hey, Ty, how you doing, buddy? All right, we're back. Wait, no, we're not. Ah, dang it. Let's see. What could be? Oh, what's going on there? That's really weird. Something.
Forever cursed with technical difficulties.
Yeah. Well, no, I think we're camera is acting up, but I think we're good now. So hope you're having a good one, Ty. We're just checking out this Batman comic, trying to figure out why this guy with very awesome hair is living underneath a murdered person's floor. That's our big plan for the day. But so far, this person does not seem very forthcoming. Oh, right. I was complaining about Batman's underwear. I gotta have the underwear.
I honestly can't tell if I agree with you or if I just feel weird looking at Batman's crotch now that you've made me look at it.
Yeah. Well, it's just that I feel like he needs something to break up the color, because otherwise it's just pretty much gray the whole way down. And the belt helps to offset it a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. It just bugs me.
Yeah, I sort of get it.
What do you think, Ty? What's your take on the great Batman underwear controversy?
I even remember the difference between all the different Batman costumes.
I'm sure you can find a very tedious online chart to help you with that. I'll keep yours with me too. Man, this guy again, very good at jumping. Big jumper, this guy.
Snyder Batman doesn't have the underwear either.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Well, be sure to get back to us. Let's see. I'll keep yours with me too. And let's see. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look at that jump in the bottom panel. He's really going for it.
Wow, this is impressive agility for a guy who's been living under the floor for days.
Yeah. And of course, this is an interesting application of the classic Ellis Hitch widescreen style, because usually it's used to show, you know, heroes bursting through alien spaceships and knocking down tall buildings. But here it's much more close quarters, much more intimate.
So I just skimmed several issues of Snyder Batman's costume. It occurs to me that also had his that not at least in that art, he was very frequently either in shadow or had his cloak wrapped around him, so you almost never had a panel like that on the last page where you just see all of him in gray with the crotch perfectly exposed in the middle of the panel like that.
Yeah, that's one approach to be sure.
So it's less costume, more art, I guess. But whatever.
Yeah.
More fighting.
Yeah, and mostly pretty quiet too, which is another thing that Ellis does a lot. He's not a big fan of the epic speeches while jumping towards somebody like some people do.
Fair enough.
Although
Definitely
I
looks like
don't,
they're going for a more realistic vibe.
yeah, I don't know how much more of this I'm interested in though. They're kind of leaning on this pretty hard.
I kind of feel like we had the few, like we probably only needed 1 or 2 pages of that, but let's continue.
Yeah, I think I kind of get the gist. But it looks like Batman is landing a pretty solid kick. And even if the guy can't feel pain, he probably needs to be able to breathe. Oh,
At
and
the
an
very least,
extra,
this will prompt him to say something about how he didn't feel that.
yeah, and an extra one on the head. Not bad. Cheating. Yeah, I like this. I like this variation where he's doing these little like inset shots, showing the throw and then grabbing the flashbang. Nice little way to kind of shake things up and add a little bit of variety, while also getting across some information that is useful but isn't necessarily that important, while still not breaking up the general horizontal focus of the layout.
Yeah. So let's see that flashbang go off.
Right. That's a pretty good flashbang. Feel that?
Wait, wasn't he pinned against a wall?
He was pinned against a wallish, I guess. Well, no, because I guess he sort of moves to gain some ground when he's throwing his wonderful toys.
Oh, right, it's the table behind him. That was stuck in his shoulder, not in the wall.
Right.
Oh, that was actually in his shoulder. Okay. I thought it was like pinned through his shirt to the wall. Okay. Fan goes off, punch in the face again. Now what?
Let's find out. I was lonely. Have you never been lonely? I'm beginning to suspect that this guy was lonely. And again, damn, that's like really impressive. He must have played college ball or something. He's really like good hustle. And I'm sort of curious to see what happens here, because aren't they pretty high up? I mean, definitely isn't happening on the first floor.
He definitely did not think that through very much. In fact, I'm honestly thinking Batman probably just let him do that because now he can grapple wherever and he's kind of in control of the situation after that.
It would be amazing if Floor Man had a grappling hook of his own that he deployed on the next page.
Like, how much stuff did you put under that bed before you decided to sneak under there?
Batman's like, huh, didn't see that coming. Yeah, I figured we were going somewhere with this. And I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, it's not terrible. You know, the poses are very dynamic. The anatomy is good like always, but this doesn't really sell the fall to me. I think part of it is that they're just obscuring the background so much.
Yeah, I almost don't see the background if I'm not really looking for it. Like, honestly, mostly I just see Batman's arm around the guy's head.
Yeah, I mean this is pretty scary, and you know, falling out of a window with the dude screeching about being lonely on top of you would be, you know, a pretty intense and frightening moment. But I just don't really feel like this sells it, which I unusual for Hitch. It seems like this sort of thing was really in his wheelhouse, but and I don't know if I kind of don't think that the faded background is doing this any favors.
Yeah, this seems like a scenario where you would want a dark or at least very high contrast background.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. But let's press on.
What page are we even on now? It feels like half the issue just got spent on that fight.
Looks like we are about at the halfway mark. A little more. So grappling hook deployed. Yeah, that third panel is kind of bugging me too. I don't know, something. It feels a little perfunctory, a little sketchy. Might be the inks. I don't know.
And why we're looking at this random part of the building.
Sorry, what?
Fourth panel.
Oh, I think it's supposed to be an establishing shot for what happens in the next panel, but I guess they're not really connecting the two very well. So
yeah, it's not at all. The camera angles are so different, you can't really tell that they're connected, and it doesn't really provide any useful information.
well, I mean, it's pretty much the same camera angle, but there's not really anything visually to connect the, like, it doesn't have the molding that the third panel doesn't have the molding that the fourth one does. Like, the color of the door is kind of the same, but yeah, you don't see the, I mean, I'm starting to wonder if there really is any connection. It's very strange. Maybe this is something that's cleared up in the next page. It is not.
That is just a weird panel.
I don't love it. Yeah. That said, I do like Batman coming in with both feet here. That is pretty hardcore. And it looks like Batman is managing to get the better of this guy finally, so that's cool.
And getting the slingshot momentum of a 2 or 3 story drop directly connected into a chest kick seems like it ought to be enough to slow this guy down.
Yeah, well, a little love tap after that should just take care of things. Officers, I have had a bad morning. If you're going to make a move, make it. Otherwise, please see that this reaches Commissioner Gordon. I don't know what the fixation this colorist has with red on everything. That seems to be something that just comes up over and over and over. But it's very soft, so
yeah, the Batmobile is usually not that red on the inside.
It can be. I mean, I have
but
seen
usually not like red all over. It's usually like specific lights or specific regions, but it's mostly dark. This is more like the half the thing just got painted red on the inside.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also some reddish tones coming in with the first two panels, and I don't know. It just kind of comes off as very muddled to me. But I had a whole rant about that last issue, so I'm not going to repeat it.
I already got confused by it on the cover, so.
Sure. The red tint on the last panel, I think, makes more sense. So I would agree with you there, but in the rest of it, I'm less sold.
Personally, I was mostly just curious why we got a whole page of him dropping the guy off. I'm not really sure what that accomplishes.
It lets us know that he dropped him off, I guess. And it apparently establishes his relationship with the police in this comic, which is something that can vary quite a bit depending on when in continuity this takes place. I assume that's probably a little bit of setup for something that's coming later.
Yeah, that's fair.
You are not dying. It is just a hangover, unless you're dying of a hangover. Morning. Master Bruce, coffee? Yes. Give me a moment, please. My head hurts. Mine too. The rest of my body isn't doing much better. Yeah, same. Mine's worse. You know, I actually believe him. I'm a little disappointed that they're just like having. Oh, wait, hold on. I was going to say I was disappointed that they're just having coffee, but isn't there like some kind of coffee that comes from like guano or something? Or wait, no, I'm thinking of like. Okay, so yeah, they do definitely have it. I was thinking of Civet coffee. Are you familiar with that?
Oh.
Yeah, it's Kopi Luwak, and basically they're these little cats named civets, and they eat coffee cherries and then they poop them, and then you like get them out of the poop, and then you use them to make extremely expensive coffee. As in like $700 per kilogram coffee. So if anybody is wondering what to get me for Christmas, just keep that in mind.
I feel
It's
like
a
I've
big.
heard this somewhere on a list of "There's no way this is real"
It's very,
things
very.
somewhere.
Oh no, it's very real. Very popular in the Philippines, I believe. I mean, very popular to make. I don't know how popular it is to drink. You can get a cup of this stuff for only $7 in Manila, though. That's not too bad. What I'm interested in is Bat Guano coffee. Yeah, okay, so this is a thing. This is definitely, definitely what Batman drinks.
Sure. Probably not Earl Grey, but I don't think it's Bat Guano either.
I'll proffer my tea, but yes, it's real. Yeah, well, I mean, to each their own. What about you, Ix? Are you a coffee or a tea guy?
Nope, never. I don't think
Either?
I've ever had coffee, but yeah, I don't drink either.
That's wild. I personally am a real big fan of coffee. Also, energy drinks. But let's get back to it. I've had the most splendid idea. Tonight, you stay at home and drink an entire bottle of 70% proof whiskey, and I'll put on the suit and slap around some underprivileged burglars. Sit down. I'll take a look at today's collection of wounds. Not with those shaky fingers, you won't. Two police officers almost drew down on me this morning. I'm hoping for a calmer night in Gotham City. Yeah, so if they're going to the trouble to reference it again in dialogue, that's definitely
Yeah, you're right.
leading up to something. The reflections on the coffee cups in panel 3 are particularly half-assed, say. I mean, at the very least, do a color hold on those. What are you doing, buddy?
They almost look like they're spinning.
Yeah, and I mean, the floor in the last page is clearly indicated by the ink work to be extremely reflective, but it's not really colored in any sort of way that would give that impression, particularly here where it's just sort of a very bland brown. I'm officially not on board with this. I hate to say it, but and honestly, on this page, I don't even know what that effect in the last panel is supposed to be. Is it snow?
I was gonna bring that up too, because that bothered me a lot more than the floor.
Is it light? I don't know.
I
I,
think
I
what they're going for is the reflectiveness of the buildings, and this is just the general background of the cityscapes is rather washed out.
yeah, I think it's no,
But
it's rain. It's clearly
oh,
supposed to be rain.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay, here it
Oof.
actually does look like rain.
I mean, it doesn't though. It's just clearer that it is rain because Hitch did the work of drawing a bunch of little circles on the ground.
Especially in the first panel, you can clearly see reflections in the puddles.
Yeah, this is frustrating.
Yeah, it's not the right way to draw. I don't know that it would not be obvious it was rain without all those extra spits. You're right.
Yeah. So enter Commissioner Gordon whipping out the old bat signal. And of course, when you do that, who's going to show up but the oldie Batman? And at least we've got a little bit of something going on here where you have the fluffiness of the clouds and the light of the bat signal kind of mixing in with that, and it's got this sort of painterly effect. I can appreciate that at least.
Yeah. This definitely
And
isn't the
again,
normal way the whole bat signal cityscape is usually drawn, but I can get behind it.
yeah, this I like. This doesn't bother me too much. Although I will say, I continue to not really be a fan of Hitch's designs for the bat vehicles.
I was gonna say, like, I have no problem with spending a lot of time on a bat signal Batman showing up scene, but what is with this aircraft?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's based on like an actual military project, like either the plans for one or something that they actually like did a prototype of. That sounds like Ellis is always pulling stuff from the real world. That's pretty interesting. But again, I don't know. This and the RC car Batmobile are really just not doing it for me. I mean, everybody has their strengths, I guess.
Yeah, this one just there's I just don't know what it's doing here. It seems like a really weird choice just for a bat signal meetup.
Yeah, and I mean, particularly given how stripped down the series has been so far, where the big mystery has been Batman finding a dude who lives in a floor. This sort of like super fancy, high tech, over the top design, I'm not sure is really what they need.
Yeah, like even if Gordon's about to hand him some case where he would need this vehicle, but he wouldn't know that before.
He's
Probably.
not. He's not. He's not going to. Commissioner, thanks for the package, complete with the victim's DNA on his mouth and, well, in his belly. Ew, gross. Who was he? I didn't get a name. Your guy apparently rejoices in the name Eduardo Flamingo. An alias? Maybe. Mob hitter out of San Diego. The only name that stuck to him was the Eater of Faces. I guess he did eat some face. Fell afoul
Okay, he
of an
wasn't wearing it,
employer.
but he ate some. Okay
Yeah.
then.
Fell afoul of an employer, evidently got lobotomized with a chisel and left on the street, drifted all the way over here. He's happy to tell everyone his story. He likes making friends. Any half-right lawyer could get him slammed up in Arkham, but San Diego, Los Angeles, and Sacramento all want him too, and California has a death penalty, so it's Arkham. Sure, or California. Remember Bobby Turton? I do not.
Name doesn't ring a bell for me either. So is it just me, or does this whole page feel kind of washed out?
Yeah, but I mean, this page and the last one both have a certain, I guess, personality to them that some of the previous pages haven't. So,
Yeah, like I, it feels intentionally washed out, but I'm not sure I like it.
yeah, and a whole lot of yellow going on here. Yeah, one of the things that I really wish this artist would do is commit to the lighting choices, because the light on the right side of Commissioner Gordon's face in the second panel, I feel like really should make everything else in the frame considerably darker. And you kind of see something like that going on with Batman in the third panel, but yeah, I don't know.
Feels like there's a weird amount of light everywhere.
Yeah. But I mean, also kind of the absence of light, right? Because, you know, Commissioner Gordon's hair is sort of this brownish orange and his coat is brown, so it's not really overwhelming the basic colors that are already there. You've still got Batman's mostly yellow belt, and his cape is pretty blue in a lot of places, so it's not really overwhelming the base colors like you would expect scene lights to. Let's see. Corrupt assistant DA blackmailed his way out of charges, went into private practice, became a defender, got quite rich. Oh, that guy. Quite. The guy owned 10 houses, 3 corporations, and a baseball team. Well, it's all relative. Wow. Wow.
If Gordon didn't already hadn't already figured out who you were, that's awfully a huge hint.
Wow. Wow. Man. Kind of catty today. Guess someone's a real touchy billionaire. He's dead. And he's somehow still had a lot of friends over at the DA's office. CSU is backed up, and there's some weirdness about the homicide. If you could get us a head start on this, I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, I will have a quiet word with the troops about not thinking about shooting you on sight. You heard about that. Man, they're really going for it. I did. I thought you were very restrained. Thank you for Officer Nguyen, by the way. Did he comment on the ink on the necks of the pair who intercepted him? Oh, we are going somewhere with that. No? Gang tats? I haven't seen that mark before. Ask him about it. I'll be interested in whatever you discover.
Oh, that, like, man, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, well, we noticed it at the time.
I had to be reminded of it because it's been a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of touchy billionaires, that kind of reminded me of a fun fact from work.
Yeah, what's that?
Have I mentioned I work at Bloomberg?
No. Gross. But I'll try not to hold it against you. Go on.
Oh, yeah, it's a good programming job, but yeah. So it just reminded me of the funny story that one of the many things that the Bloomberg terminal has is a list of the wealthiest people in the world by their total net value and stuff. And I've heard that once or twice we've gotten support calls from people saying that their net worth is being displayed too low and they need to correct it, which I just
Yeah.
thought was hilarious.
Well, there was a story that came out about Donald Trump. I think in Forbes, where the guy who handled their Forbes list realized after hearing a story about Trump doing this to somebody else that in order to get placed on the Forbes list, you need to, I guess, have somebody else say that you have a certain amount of money. It can't just be self-reported. And so what this Forbes reporter realized, and he actually had a tape to prove this, is that the person who called him to confirm that Trump was rich AF was actually Trump himself doing an accent, calling himself John Barron.
Wow.
Yeah. See if I can.
There's a new look.
What?
Oh.
I mean, not really. Let's be honest here. Not to get all political, but I mean that seems pretty.
I've actually been paying attention to Trump news, so I don't know how low he's actually gone.
This is not shockingly unusual behavior for him, and I mean I think he's done worse over the years, like using charity money to pay for a painting of himself. And I mean, like, honestly, well, I mean, I don't want to disrespect you and your work, but I don't think I care that much about how rich people are. So I just think it's kind of funny personally. But
yeah, I also think it's funny.
let's see. I don't know. Okay, well, let's see. Trying to find something that isn't ad block to heck and back. Here we go. That looks like it'll work. But the amazing thing is that this guy actually has this on tape.
Explosive new claim now. Explosive new.
Well, anyway, you get the idea. So it's a pretty good prank as pranks go. I've been thinking about trying to get on the list myself, actually. It'd probably do great things for my subscriber numbers. The billionaire cartoon streamer.
I'm sure people wouldn't figure that out very quickly.
Well, I mean, it took them like 20 years to figure it out with Trump, so. Anyway, that's politics corner. Let's get back to it. Turton, wasn't he that terrible creature with 8 chins who smelled vaguely of butter? I need to run some labs. I'll prepare the samples. What are you looking at? I'm starting with his financials. He was relatively wealthy. That means he had friends, enemies, and people he needed things from. More than wealthy, surely. Didn't he own a sports team of some kind? I said relatively. Ah, that's a lot of shell corporations. Again, with the weird cattiness about wealth. I feel like we're kind of hitting a soft spot for him. I didn't realize he was that touchy about it. I am digging his more casual wear Batman look, where he doesn't have the cape or the bracelets.
Yeah, no gloves, no cape, no cowl,
Yeah.
bodies. Yeah.
I have been watching the Batwoman TV show, which is I'm gonna yeah, it's not very good, unfortunately. Which is a shame because I really loved the comic, but
Yeah, I own all the good Batwoman comics. They're great.
yeah. But there's a scene in the Batwoman show where she's wearing the uniform, but she's not wearing the headgear. And I was really struck by like how much better it looked without the wig and the mask. Like I really feel like if she just switched to a domino mask or something, that would be a much more interesting look. Because I mean, the actress has a very like distinctive uh like head shape. Like she's very got a very narrow face, and like a lot of that sort of like interesting visual aspect is kind of wiped out by that. But it's I don't know. I'm always very curious to see like midpoints and transitions and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially with Batman in particular. They actually, I should say, superheroes in general. A lot of the intermediate costume states have some almost unavoidable symbolic value to them that you. I like it when they actually use that and play with it properly.
Yeah, I always got a kick out of how in the Ultimates it took an entire team of people to put together Tony's suit.
I liked that change. That was one of those things that made it seem believable that there weren't 500 other Iron Men running around all the time.
Yeah. So we've got some spreadsheets. You're the spreadsheet guy. What are you getting from this?
Just from this page, I can't make anything out at all.
What secrets do these spreadsheets reveal to you? There's a pie chart too. Don't forget about the pie chart.
Nope, none of it is legible.
All right, I will stop busting your chops and we will move on to the next page.
If he was really wealthy, that spreadsheet would have another 100 rows on
Which happens to be the last page.
it.
Did it ever occur to you, Master Bruce, that if you ever just gave this fantastic detective technology to Gotham PD, they could be far more effective and you could take a night off? Did it
Swear
ever...
we've had stories that cover this angle.
Have we? I guess White Knight kind of dabbles with that a bit.
Yeah, White Knight has some of that going on, but I also remember there was one time when Dick Grayson was being Batman that they created a special lab for Gotham PD that the Gotham PD almost never used, almost out of spite.
Yeah, that sounds like the sort of thing the cops would do.
Yeah, it's come up a few times, but yeah, it does seem like they should. In reality, I'm sure it would go much more in that direction.
Yeah. Did it ever occur to you that the first person they'd use it on would be me? Kind of getting some Ayn Rand objectivist vibes off of the Bat here.
Yeah, that's an interesting solution to that problem, which is the police hate me, therefore I won't give them the tech. That's not the usual answer to that question.
Yeah. But I find it believable.
Yeah, it totally works. If they're clearly going hard on the cops don't like him angle, so this is gonna go somewhere.
Sure. I do feel compelled to say that Turton was dirty, and it is easy to envisage, a situation where you brought him to justice, thereby enabling him to be killed and imprisoned by some lizard with a sharpened toothbrush. Some things are preordained. That would never mean that he deserved to be murdered. Okay. Kind of a random place to stop the issue, but I guess I don't know. It's not unusual for Ellis to read better in trades, and I think this might be a sterling example of that.
I think you nailed it. I think you totally nailed it right there. That was super random, but yeah, maybe it'll just continue on the next page of issue 3.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say the next page of this comic, but it's like, surprise, just kidding. We're actually going to keep going. But nope, that's it. That's the end of the issue.
I have seen comics that do a fake out to be continued page, but that's only if they're going super fourth wall meta, which is clearly not happening here.
Yeah, I don't think this is the Gwenpool of the DC universe.
Yeah.
All right, so thoughts? What do we think of comic?
I'm underwhelmed.
Yeah, same. And I'm really frustrated by the art, which I wasn't expecting. Like, it's not terrible. It's better than, 90% of other comics on the stand, but I don't really feel like we're hitting some of the highs that we've seen from Hitch before.
Yeah, like I can tell it's good, but it doesn't feel like it's hitting me as hard as it's supposed to. Like there's things that just it's missing that last one or two things that it needs to really have the impact it's supposed to on certain key pages.
Yeah.
And honestly, the fight in the first half that just should not have taken up half an issue. There was no reason to do that much of it.
Yeah, well, again, though, I mean, like, in a trade, you won't even really think about it, but...
Maybe? Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I will probably be dragging you back for the next issue, so brace yourself. Unless there's something else you're particularly hankering to read next week.
No, I think I'm good. I can't remember what comes out next week.
Probably. Yeah, well, check the list and get back to me.
I'm subscribed to most of the X books, so I'll probably have another one of those, but I don't remember which one.
Okay. Yeah, I think, what is it called? Fallen Angels comes out today.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm not subscribed to at this point, and I'm hearing from other people it's not that good.
Yeah. I really didn't like X-Force. That one There's some interesting ideas in there, but it just really came off as kind of like gross and mean, in weird ways.
Get that impression, but I did feel like it hasn't really finished the introduction part.
Yeah,
Like nothing got. It feels like it jump cut between 5 or 6 different plot lines, none of which really had the chance to land. Which is one of those things. I'm basically just waiting for the second issue to make up my mind on that.
yeah, I think that's fair. I'm probably willing to give it like an opening arc. That's my usual policy, unless something like really, comes off as dumb or obnoxious or bad. I'm willing to give them a little space.
I extend sunk cost fallacy to first arc or 2-3 issues, and then yeah, you can fit so little into one issue that yeah, everyone gets a second or third issue if they got a first issue from me in the first place. But yeah, after 2 or 3, you should have sold me by then.
Yeah, sure. Well, hey, as always, thanks for stopping by, Ix. I appreciate it.
Yep, this is always fun.
I think I'm probably gonna do another one solo, but I haven't really decided what we're gonna be doing, and I need to step out for a minute. So, yeah, we will BRB.
And I've got some stuff I gotta do anyway, so have fun.
Alrighty, later, Gator.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was The Batman's Grave, issue 2. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it. And like I said, I will be back with more comic book stuff after this. Actually, I think I'm going to restart the stream. So we'll make it a 5-er. But yeah, BRB.